By the way, the date for today, we chose coincidentally for May 22nd. So today is the Bitcoin Pizza Day. So I'll be happy to talk about it a little bit later on during today's presentation. But just so you know, we were choosing the date pretty much, in fact, with some other so that it would work for all of us. But generally, today is the 15-year anniversary of the event where the Bitcoin price was possibly for the first time set up. And this is something that a guy, I'm not able to pronounce his name correctly, so I won't even try. But he bought two pizzas for his family, worth approximately $40 at the time, 15 years ago, which essentially marked the first price of Bitcoin, right? So the price of Bitcoin went up 1,000 times, tens of thousands times, many more times gone up. Well, if you bought the pizzas with stablecoins, if the stablecoins were even available back then in 2010, it would have been a completely different story. But today we are going to talk about specific stablecoins, what they are useful, and what they are useful for, and what you might use them for, and how to use them specifically. So we have our speakers for today. So that's Mantas, that's myself, and also our product manager Shiv, who is a speaker here on Discord as well. All right. So very briefly, what we are going to cover today is some use cases. We'll start with reasons why we even use stablecoins, what they might be good for. We'll also switch to how the price is calculated, or why is it even stable around $1, €1, one other currencies. And then we'll also look from a high level into how you can use stablecoin together with Tatum ecosystem. Obviously, when there's any questions, feel free to post your questions into chat. We are always reading the chat, so make sure to post any questions, any comments that you might have during today's workshop.
All right, let's go ahead.
Why do we even use stablecoins? Before I get into the specific use cases, feel free to post any of your ideas, any of your tips into the chat. We're happy to hear what you think. And one of the first use cases that we have prepared is for cross-border transfers. So think of a case where you are working on international job, right? So for example, you are from Europe, you have clients in US, so you get paid in US dollars. And in this case, bank transfers are expensive. So the sender's bank is going to charge a fee for transferring the international transfer. The recipient's bank is also going to charge a fee, and it's going to take a couple of days, maybe 2 days, 3 days for the stablecoin transfer, for the actual fiat transfer to reach the destination. Plus, there is going to be fees of 0.5%, 1%, maybe even 2% of the sent amount. Now, when you're sending, let's say, thousands of dollars for some kind of job or something, that is going to add up. And don't even think about sending millions of dollars or something in terms of some large businesses. So that would be even crazier. Now, with stablecoins that are based on cryptocurrencies that are actually fungible tokens, you simply send the stablecoin. We'll talk about the sending process in just a bit. And what you can do is the fee is usually flat for the transaction on blockchain. So that might be even 1 cent usually, right? So let's say you are transferring $100, $1,000, $10,000. The fee is always flat of 1 cent, maybe 2 cents, maybe $1 if it's on some more expensive network. So even in that case, it's still very huge savings in terms of fees. Now, in terms of the time, how long does it take for the transaction to be finalized? How long does it take for the payment to go from sender to recipient? Usually seconds. So when you have the traditional banking systems that takes 2 days maybe and cost tens of dollars, hundreds of dollars, even more on fees, and then you have the crypto payments with stablecoins that you pay literally a cent and it's done within seconds, what would you choose?
Yeah, it's
I'm
it's
looking
it's
in
kind
the
of a there's a big saving component to this for any financial company, essentially. So anything that has to do with cost savings or practical applications is definitely going to be adopted quickly.
yeah, absolutely.
I
And
guess settlement, so not be ignored. The settlement time is really a great pro because, like, even now with lots of different ways to wire transfer, it still takes at least 1.5 day for money to be transferred from one part of the world to another. Where here, if you are, let's say, using networks like Tron and Solana, it would take like a second. So
yeah,
that's definitely
absolutely.
a boon.
All right. So moving from large payments into the other side of the spectrum. So let's say you're buying coffee and you want to pay in crypto. So you don't need to send 10,000 Bitcoin for a pizza. Now coffee costs a little bit less than that. So what you can do is you can also use stablecoins for payments in smaller shops, or maybe or for buying add-ons to games, or any type of payment that might be even smaller than that. And for everyday use, that's a great example. As Montas and I are based in Prague, and close to our office, there's a cafe place that accepts payments only in cryptocurrency. So even if you came in there with fiat currency, you wanted to pay for the coffee in fiat, you wouldn't be able to. They only accept cryptocurrency for the coffee payment. So this would be a great example how you can pay the $5 or so worth of coffee, and it's simple enough, it's fast enough, it's done in seconds, and you can use it every day. You don't need to install a Lightning Network wallet or any other Bitcoin L2 or anything other than a simple MetaMask in your mobile wallet. And you can use stablecoins payments even for this.
Yeah, and it's like one thing I personally use. The example here is the Qcoin card, not not endorsing them in any way, but it's just working for me. And I mean, it's you don't even need to go to the places that really just accept crypto. You're just going around with your card and paying for your groceries, coffees, whatever you want. And you can imagine the back end of Qcoin having to deal with all of this, like all these users going from one stable coin to another, paying for items in very varied costs, and then they have rewards that get back to you in USDT. So there's a lot of backend that's required to handle these stable coins. So if you're a developer kind of working in the space and thinking about like what do I need to do with stable coins, is this really going to stay? Well, there's already a lot of very practical applications that are essentially being used every single day. And we have a question in the audience that maybe you can answer. So the question is, are the speed gains because there are not necessarily transfers, but kind of like a managed wallet for this? In case like a pool of fiat, is that why it's essentially faster?
So the speed gains are one of the reasons, or maybe the main reason, why blockchain transfers are faster, or generally stablecoin transfers, is because of the way how traditional banking works and how blockchain works. So with traditional banking, your bank needs to submit the payment to the central bank of that country or of that economic area, and then from the central bank it needs to be sent overseas or to another country to their central bank. There needs to be some kind of settlement between the banks, and from the new central bank it also needs to get to the recipient's bank, and it all takes time because these things are sent in batches, maybe once a day. So that's why you actually uh, have the time to process everything, because it's processed maybe once a day or so. But Stablecoin. Sorry,
And
Shiv. Go on.
I was just adding, and also those things are very centralized, right? Like imagine someone sending payment from US to India. Might be morning in US, and when the guy would wake up in Indian bank, that will probably be like 12 hours ahead. So that is, I guess, the drawbacks of the centralized systems. And when we have these decentralized, then all we need to get a transaction through is like a decentralized network to agree on that, and that adds to the speed of it.
Exactly. And the decentralized networks run 24/7. So they are depending on the specific networks. You have block producers. Sometimes they are miners. Sometimes they are validators. There are different ways how to produce blocks on different networks. But generally, they are active 24/7. They are rewarded for their work. So they have incentive to produce new blocks every second, every 10 seconds, depending on that network.
All right,
Exactly.
let's move ahead.
Wait, just one quick key thing on the micro payments as well. I guess around the use cases, there is a problem that is very common in India. Like people are often doing, let's say, thousands and 10 thousands of transactions in a year with their banks as well, where we have networks like UPI and stuff. And when you want to connect like people's banking to do micro payments, like just via the bank apps and stuff like that, and they're using it for every other thing, it's really gets messy when you're doing, let's say, your tax reconciliation and stuff like that to look through all those transactions. What people are doing in here in India, and probably I think in Brazil as well, is forming smaller accounts. And I think that is one of a very interesting use case for micro payments as well. Like imagine you have your main crypto wallet that you do all the taxes for profit and gains and stuff. And a wallet also offers you having, let's say, smaller accounts of wallets, which are like, let's say, for your transaction, for your meals and stuff like that. And basically, it's just one transaction where you have, let's say, the transaction metadata as meal cost or something like that, and it reduces your things to manage in taxes as well. So that's pretty interesting if someone would like to tackle as well, I guess.
Yeah,
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 yeah, absolutely.
yeah. So
And
I dropped this slide in here, so I'll cover it. Just for me, it's just being someone who's been trading crypto for years. Without stables, it's basically, I mean, it's possible to do it, but you wouldn't want to. And essentially, this is how liquidity moves into crypto, and every ecosystem that's any new ecosystem, like one of the most important things that it needs is a stablecoin provider for it to attract users and liquidity. And obviously, moving in and out of trades, you're moving in from native token to some kind of on-chain token, and then into stables, and you may do this many times in the course of a month. So stable coins, for that reason alone, again, are here to stay for indefinitely. It's just that's how the blockchain functions. And this is just as practical of an application as it gets. This is just how you sort of trade. This is the default.
yeah, absolutely. So when you use Binance or any other exchange, whether it's centralized or decentralized exchange, you usually let's buy Bitcoin for USDC, for example, or sell Bitcoin into USDC, right? So that would be a great example of that. Thank you, Mantas. Now, moving into the fintech area a little bit. So when you see payments for work, as I mentioned previously, it doesn't even need to be international payments. It can be just local payments, and that's usually most of the payments that we know of. So when you receive your salary every week, every month, you know that you are going to be paid in local currency. But what if you are crypto native, right? So what if you work with cryptos more than you work with fiat? What if it's even better for you to receive payments in crypto? So
What? Yeah, like
there are,
what if the currency in your country just sucks and it's inflating like crazy, as in many parts of the world? Yeah.
yeah, exactly. So for these reasons, it's very good idea to also receive maybe portion, maybe full salary in crypto. And some fintechs already do that. Some companies already enable you to receive your salary in crypto. and they are using either third-party solutions. They also might be simply paying in crypto, paying in stablecoins directly. So it all depends on the company. It always depends on how you agree with your employer, if this is possible or not for them, maybe for legal reasons, maybe for practical reasons. But generally, we have seen a huge increase in the past several years from practically non-existent into crypto native companies that now are paying their employees first in crypto and maybe some legal requirements partially in fiat. It really depends. Now, speaking of the international transfers, and as we mentioned, that the payment needs to go from one bank to another and to another bank and so on. So one of the ways how this could be simplified into the future, and some banks are already experimenting with this, is let's not do the bank settlements between bank A and bank B. Let's not do it in fiat. Let's try it in crypto. It's much more cheaper. It's much more less expensive. It's much more faster. They are already experimenting with this. I believe that a couple of days ago, JP Morgan, one of the largest banks worldwide, just announced that they had their first on-chain transaction. So this is something that we have already seen from the very largest banks in the world. So I think it's only a matter of time before other banks are also experimenting with this, and maybe they are going to implement this into their daily routine. So it might not be just innovation. Maybe we are coming to the time where banks are using crypto daily. Who knows?
Yeah, it's not I would say that that's the world we already kind of like live in. And the first steps have been definitely taken, and from the interest in the Tatum product as well from the fintech companies, this is sort of one of the key, very real applications. And if you recall, there was a discussion like years that was lasting years, where essentially, well, when the blockchain really is mainstream, when you're doing things in the real world and you don't even know it's blockchain, and this is exactly it, right? Like you're just transferring dollars to another person somewhere else, exchanging maybe things, and it's happening on blockchain in the back end, but on the front end for the user, it just looks like your usual finance app experience, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Um, how is it possible that one USDC costs $1? How is this possible that €1 stablecoin costs €1? Right.
It's
So,
a mystery.
uh,
I don't. This is magic. Tell us, Pepe.
yeah, and here are the things behind the magic. Now, so there are two main ways how this is possible, and we'll divide it into two categories. So one of them is fiat backed. So what usually happens, you have large organizations like Tether behind the USDT stablecoin, you have Circle behind the USDC stablecoin, and there are many others, but these two are the largest one, the prime examples of that. So when Tether has a total value of, I believe it's $150 billion, something like that, it's a crazy large number. This organization supposedly holds $150 billion in bonds, in stock, in treasuries, in other assets. So they don't hold it on their account in just regular dollars, but they hold this amount, at least this amount. It's usually over collateralized. So in this case, they hold the amount and they exchange $1 when they receive it to one USDT, for example. And also, when the user wants to exchange one USDT to one actual dollar, they will also burn that USDT and they will pay them the actual dollar in fiat. Obviously, with these large numbers, these large organizations usually don't deal with end users. Their users are exchanges like Binance, for example. So when an exchange might want to buy $1 billion of USDT, they would come to Tether, the organization, and say, hey, here's $1 billion in fiat. Please print us, please mint us 1 billion tethers. So they would do that, and the same works the other way.
And better, essentially, it's just like, let's say something, take USDC, it will be on Ethereum, let's say. It's a ERC20 token with mint and burn functionality, and someone just goes in. I don't know if it's automatic or if it's the dev goes in and mints and or burns a number of tokens, right? It's can you
Essentially,
share more?
yes, but they need to follow a large amount of regulations. So, for example, here in Europe, we have a regulation called MiCA, Markets in Crypto Assets, that tells the stablecoin issuers that they need to follow a set of rules in order to be legally operating stablecoins. So I believe in US there is a similar regulation. In other countries there are also similar regulations. So since they are essentially working with money, they need to follow a very large number of strict rules. So even though there is some automated system that hits the mint button, behind that automated system there are many safe checks, many validations, and many other rules that they need to follow. We have a question in chat, so thanks for sharing information. I want to know if this webinar by Tatum is about concepts or there will also be coding. So this webinar is more about the high level, and we are going to have some examples in documentation in just a moment. But today there is going to be no coding. Today is going to be more about the concepts and how you can use Tatum to interact with stablecoins as well. But today, no code, I promise. All right. So if there are any other questions related to fiat-backed stablecoins, feel free to post them in the chat. We'll get back to those. Now, for the other category, that's crypto collateralized. So in this case, instead of the organization storing fiat, storing bonds and shares and everything, they store cryptocurrency and they mint crypto tokens, stablecoins that are backed by Ethereum, for example, or Bitcoin, for example. So in the previous example, that was backed by US dollars or euros or any other currency. In this case, this is backed by cryptocurrency, Ethereum, Bitcoin. So for that reason, they are heavily over-collateralized, which means that you have MakerDAO, for example, as one of the prime examples, that it is an issuer of the DAI stablecoin. So whenever you send 1 Ether of to MakerDAO, which is currently worth, let's say, $2,500, you can mint DAI stablecoin worth a little bit less. So let's say 1,500, right? So they hold the collateral for you. They hold the Ether for you, and they enable you to mint the DAI stablecoin in exchange for that collateral. You can also choose to burn that DAI stablecoin, which enables you to unlock the full collateral Ethereum. So this is fully decentralized in opposition to the previous example. So if you're an end user of cryptocurrency, you can simply do that, and you can mint your own stablecoins if you'd like, with MakerDAO, with Synthetics, with any other crypto collateralized stablecoin providers. All right, so there are also some risks to this. So in the first example, we had many regulations that the organization need to follow, but in this case, these are often decentralized organizations. These are often smart contracts without any other person hitting the mint button. So how do they? How do they work? So they closely follow the price of the collateralized asset. So, for example, of Ether, and if the price of that asset goes below some kind of threshold, might be 110% or something, they do so-called liquidation process, which means that anyone is able to buy the collateral at the discounted price, so that the original collateral does not go below the price of that asset, of the stablecoin asset. But generally, it's much more accessible for end users. And I encourage you to try MakerDAO, to try Synthetics, to try any other stablecoin provider that enables you to mint stablecoin in a decentralized way. Any questions, any topics? I'm looking at the chat right now. Sorry, Mantas, go on.
No questions at the moment. I think let's go into the practical application of Tatum in the context of stable coins and how you can leverage the platform.
Absolutely. All right. So one of the ways when you are building a blockchain application, we see that often when we speak with wallet creators, for example, you want to get notified whenever you receive a stablecoin transfer or whenever your users are sending out stablecoin transfers. So let's say you're building a wallet and you want to show a pop-up, hey, you just received $10 or something. Or maybe you are building a e-commerce system. And again, you want your users to get notified. You want your internal systems to get notified on the payment so that they can submit, so that they can send the package or something. So in this case, there is a feature of Tatum called notifications that you can use very easily to receive updates on transfers. So let me show you a very quick example. Can you see my documentation now?
Yeah, we can.
All right. So this is a screenshot from how you can actually interact with that. It's not only stablecoins, it's also native transfers and everything, but today we are going to focus on that. For the developers out there, you see a very short code example. This is all you need to run in order to set up the notifications. And then there's, again, this is more for the engineering people, a very simple diagram that you can see, hey, this happened, Tatum get notified from the blockchain, and then you, as the user of Tatum, you also get notified from Tatum. Now, what happens if your system is down for whatever reason? We retry the notification. We keep retrying with intervals of 1 second, 2 seconds, 4 seconds, 8 seconds, and so on, so that you are always notified on whatever is happening with the transfer that you are watching.
And Petter, what is the scope of the supported chains for this?
Right, so there are currently, I believe, 20 chains or something that you can use. So all of the major stablecoin chains that you can see, like Ethereum, Tron, Solana, all of them are supported, which means that you can get notified on transfers of USDC, of USDT, or any other token.
Great.
All right. So obviously, as a developer or builder, you also want to be able to send stablecoins. So let's say you are building the HR fintech that we were just mentioning earlier. So you want your employees to be paid in crypto. Again, a really nice example how you can use it. This one is even or 70 plus networks. So it's obviously more than the previous example. And you can use the RPC, you can use specific API endpoints to submit stablecoin transactions, as well as native transactions if you want to send payments in other tokens as well. This is also possible with Tatum. Last but not least, when you scale, you are also going to be worried about transaction fees. So even though the transaction fees are way lower compared to international bank transfers, there are still going to be some transaction fees that are paid to the blockchain, to the network that you are using. Now, when you scale into thousands of users, tens of thousands, millions of users, you also need to take this into account. So for advanced users, we also have this feature that enables you to estimate the fees that you are going to pay to the network. And the way it works is that we return you 3 levels of fees. So the standard would be the default. And then you can also choose to use the slow fee, which is slower in terms of the amount that you are paying to the network. But also it means that it might take a little bit longer for the transaction to process. Minutes, maybe hours. The lower the fee, the longer it takes for the transaction to process on the network. But generally, you save on the fee. Or on the other hand, if you want your transaction to be processed really fast, you can choose the higher fee, which is the fast option in this case. And in this case, the transaction might be processed within a second, for example. That's a real example on fast chains like Solana and Optimism that have sub 1 second block time. So you can have an international transfer within a second, for example.
Right. So you can send transactions. You can get the notifications about those transactions. You can estimate the fees that they're going to cost you. What about getting balances of the actual stablecoin by account?
So this is not included in the presentation, but since I'm already sharing the screen with the documentation, there is a feature called Data API that you can also see getting information of token. You can get information on any address. So this would be the balance at any time in point. There are many other features that enable you to do this.
So basically, you're covering the basic or essential set of operations for, let's say, a wallet or exchange for stable.
Yeah, a wallet is a great example, and many builders that build with Tatum are actually wallets and exchanges. So this would be a great example. Yes, Mantas.
Okay. Now, another maybe more challenging one. Could you? I guess you could mint a stable coin with Tatum, right? Like you could just mint an ERC20 token. You would have to manage the treasury, right? But you can mint the token, right?
And as you can see in the documentation, it's here as well. So to all engineers that are listening, yes, this is also possible. Very easy, very straightforward. It's a one simple API call. So make sure to explore this as well.
Really cool. We have a question. Does the documentation you shared have the information needed to pick between the different fee types? I have different use cases that can permit slow or fast transactions. Great question.
Yeah, definitely. So what you can do when you request the transaction fees, it always gives you the 3 levels: the slow, normal, and fast. So depending on your use case, you can choose to select the slow fee for some transactions, and you can choose to select the fast fee for other transactions. It really depends on your use case, depends on you. We always give you the 3 options, and then it's up to you which one you choose.
Great question.
If you have
Right.
any further questions, any other thing that you would like to cover, feel free to
Well,
post it in the
okay. Well,
chat.
let's open it up to the audience so people can kind of submit their questions, think them through. I'll maybe start with one, Peter, for you. What happens during depegging? Like actually, practically, what goes down? Like why does it depeg?
Right. So let me go back to the fiat-backed and crypto-collateralized assets. So depegging might happen to, let's start with the fiat-backed, for example. So in that case, where the organization is, the issuer is no longer trustworthy, or maybe they no longer hold the amount of fiat, in that case, we have nothing or maybe less than the value of the stablecoin that is used as collateral. So in that case, the stablecoin depegs, and which essentially means that the price of stablecoin is no longer $1, €1, €1, or whatever it represents. It in the case of depegging, it means that the price is going a little bit lower. So this is an example of, I think about 2 years ago, this happened with Terra Luna stablecoin. And again, that was a mistake on possibly on their end that caused the Luna stablecoin to depeg from $1 all the way to less than 1 cent, I believe.
And does this is there? I guess if it's is it it's never 1-to-1 precisely, right? Like, is there a sort of a threshold? And I guess that creates an arbitrage opportunity for someone to take advantage of.
Yeah, definitely. So the price of stablecoin, as you mentioned, Mantas, it's not exactly 1.000. Sometimes it might be 1.001. Sometimes it might be 99.999, and so on. So the price fluctuates around that stable price. So in some use cases, if you are buying coffee, it might doesn't matter that the price is very, very, very small difference from the actual price. But if you are working with high frequency trading, for example, yes, that creates arbitrage opportunities. And some arbitrage actually works in this exact way so that the traders make use of those very small differences.
Yeah, great. Okay, there's a pretty interesting question in our chat. So basically about the Tatum infrastructure. So is it kind of like Tatum infra is essentially you can think of it as Web 2 infra that facilitates access to the world of Web 3. Like the user here draws a parallel with Chainlink maybe services. I guess you can think of it that way, right? Better. It's you can use it with your standard sort of Web 2 stack and query blockchain data.
Definitely. So I think JavaScript is one of the largest programming languages used by over 15 million developers, and it's generally used in Web 2. But when you look at the Tatum API, you can call it with JavaScript, you can call it with Java, .NET, Python, any other programming language that is mainly used in Web 2. You don't need to know Solidity, Rust, or any other Web 3 languages. So you can easily interact with the Tatum API from JavaScript and other Web 2 languages.
Or if you even don't want to deal with any programming language, you can ask your AI friend to deal with it for you.
Yeah, and Mantas has already done that, right? So Mantas is an amazing.
That's how I do it. Any other
Yeah,
questions from a folk or Chef? What do you want to add?
yeah, I just wanted to add that Tatum also abstracts away the complexity of the chain. So let's say if you are building on one chain, picking up on other chain would not require you to have, let's say, chain knowledge of another chain, right? Let's say if you are building how to do estimation on one chain, I guess all you would need to change is a parameter in the API and it would work across all the others as well. So that's where we simplify it a lot for you as well when you're building cross chain.
Right. Yeah. I guess a good example is like the notification services, say for stablecoin. So if you think about it, dealing with that without the notification service, you would need to sort of monitor all on-chain data and try to pick out a stablecoin and all the transactions that are happening on chain, which is an immense sort of data handling challenge.
Yeah, exactly. And with advanced filtering, you can simply skip that, and you're able to get anything you're interested in.
Great. Any other sort of closing thoughts to the stablecoin discussion, guys?
Well, for me personally, I am a stablecoin user. I know that stablecoins are very easy to use, and I have been using them for quite some time. Quite sometimes, I don't plan to change that behavior. Whenever I can pay with stablecoins, it's very easy, very straightforward. So, if you haven't done that, I encourage you to do that. And if you are building some kind of service that works with stablecoin, feel free to look into the documentation, look into the guides. There's everything you need to do. Obviously, feel free to reach out. Or our emails are also in the event or in the next slide. So make sure to try it. It's very easy.
Right. Yeah, and if I guess if you're a developer, I would say that your world is going to become very ingrained in stablecoins just because everyone will need to add them to their application environment in some way, one way or another. So it's good to understand granularly how it works and be able to work with it.
Yes.
Yeah, so we'll share this recording is going to be available for you on YouTube, on X. It's also being streamed there, and you can reach out to our team at any time, either here in Discord. You can submit a request on our website. We will answer right away. No question is too silly, and we have also, if you have more complicated requirements, we have solution engineers like Pether and Shelby on the team who can jump in and help you sort of ideate what your solution needs to look like specifically. So feel free to do it. We love to have technical conversations and love to learn from you as well. So we really appreciate this opportunity to talk to you, and thank you everyone for joining us.